I was on a hit show and that was my first big thing. Was it my best acting? Probably not. But you know what? I learned so much on that show. You know, as soon as we would wrap our last episode, I'd be on a plane going somewhere far. And when the time came where I was purchasing my own bags for my own travels, that's when I noticed that there was a white space on the market.
The creator and CEO of multi-million-dollar company Béis, mom, actor, entrepreneur, Shay Mitchell.
I look back at my life. Is there anything I haven't done yet? How much time do we have here? Béis, Onda, and a few other things about to come out too.
Before we dive in, I want to extend a warm invitation to join our thriving Foundr community. It's the perfect place to discover more insightful interviews aimed at helping you build, grow, and scale your business. So don't forget to hit subscribe. Your support means the absolute world to us. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get stuck in today's discussion.
Hear the stories, learn the proven methods, and accelerate your growth and future through entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Foundr Podcast with Nathan Chan.
Conversation.
I love it.
Just as if we're just meeting, which we are.
Absolutely.
So on that, the first question that I ask everyone that comes on is, how did you get your job? AKA, how did you find yourself doing the work you're doing today?
What work? There's a lot. I'm like, what are we talking about? How did I get started with Béis?
Yeah. How'd you get started in everything that you've done?
How did I get started with everything? Okay. How much time do we have here? How did I get started? I was born in Toronto. Before I started acting, I was in bottle service. I worked at a couple different nightclubs, lounges, and at the same time, I was taking acting classes. So I did a nighttime job so I could go to my class during the day. That was very interesting. And then I ended up booking a show that took me to the States. And that show ran for 7 years. I learned a lot, and I learned a lot quickly in that time. I think that was sort of the foundation of my learning of how to manage time. Because I was on the show, we would shoot sometimes from, I don't know, anywhere from like 4 hours from a scene to 22 was one of my longest days. And we did that for 7 years, 9 months out of the year. And so in that time, you know, there was a lot of sitting and waiting. But I also learned a lot about myself, and I was like, I have all these ideas in this downtime of like things that I want to do for the hiatus, which is basically the time you have off from shooting. And my interests were always in traveling. You know, as soon as we would wrap our last episode, I'd be on a plane going somewhere far. And at that time, I'd also started a YouTube channel. So I was like, okay, how can I kind of bring, you know, everyone along with me? Because I'm going to all these incredible places. I'm doing these amazing experiences, meeting so many awesome people. I want to share this. So that's when I started getting into the YouTube world. And then I started a channel called Shaycation. And so that was sort of what I did during my time while shooting the show, in addition to having a blog and writing a book. And I think my thought process is always, okay, when the time comes when I'm like, you know, there, and I look back at my life, is there anything I haven't done yet? And if so, why? So I feel like I have that mentality, and I've always had it. So yes, I did a lot of stuff when I was shooting that show. But from that, I learned how much I loved traveling. And I learned that when I was abroad, I would kind of pick up inspiration from people, you know, that I would meet. And when the time came for me to, you know, purchase my own luggage and my bags and all of that, that's when I noticed that there was a white space on the market. And I thought, okay, I've learned over these years how to market and brand myself, you know, from being an actress on the show that had done so well on social media. First, you know, we went heavy on Twitter, and then it was Instagram. And I learned all these different ways of how to communicate with my community. And I've always had a passion for bags. And ever since I was a little girl, I remember having like my first caboodles. I don't know if you have that over there, but it's like this plastic makeup trunk kind of case. And I didn't even care about what was in it. I just loved bags. Anytime I'd come to the States, because I'm Canadian, I'd go to Target, I'd run to the back, and I would go to the toiletry bag section. Like as a little girl, I just loved bags. I loved having, you know, something that I knew if when I had, you know, things to put in it, it'd be organized. So anyways, my love of bags had started from a young age. And when the time came where I was purchasing my own bags for my own travels, like I said, I'd noticed that white space and I wanted to create a brand with products that fit the buckets that I didn't think these other companies were hitting. Like I wanted something that looked good, but didn't break the bank. I wanted function, but not too much function. And Béis came about from my love of travel. And yeah, that's like the short condensed version. I'm trying to fit it all in, but
then you started a production company, and then also you've got a sparkling tequila company as well. So you've got a lot going on.
Yeah. But it's interesting because for me, it's always kind of just flowed. Everything has just kind of happened at the right timing with this. And I think that's a huge part of it is, hard work and luck and the right timing. I feel like with Béis, it came after the show, a year after the show. And, we've been 5 years when it launched in 2018. But we'd worked on it about a year and a half prior to launching. And then with Onda, that also came out of my love of drinking. And also seeing another white space in that market. But yeah, so Shaycation, Béis, Onda, and a few other things about to come out too.
So tell me around Béis. You said that you were working on it for a year and a half before you launched in 2018. What did that process look like? Because I think a lot of people might look at, a creator like yourself and go, okay, well, that's easy. I can just find a product, launch it. That person's got a massive audience, but you've built an incredible brand that's long lasting. And, before I heard of you, I knew the brand. I knew the brand Béis before I knew you. So you've done an exceptional job of building an incredible brand. Talk us through what that first 18 months looked like to create a physical product and building the brand.
Yeah, the name played a huge part. I think even just for anybody now coming up with the name for anything, it's you look and it's taken. You're trying to come up with something creative that people will remember. And it kind of tied back to when I was auditioning prior to being on a show. My real name's Shannon. My dad's Irish, and Shannon and Sean, my brother's name is Sean. And I remember for me, even going into audition rooms, when I had changed my name to Shay, just going by Shay, people would, in the audition room would be like, wait, Shay, that's interesting. How do you spell it? S-H-A-E, S-H-A-Y? And it gave me that couple extra seconds to talk to them, right? In the room that I may not have had if they had just seen Shannon on there. So I had my little story in there, and I would get to be in the room for a little longer explaining Shay. It actually came from J-Lo. I loved Jennifer Lopez at the time. So I went to Shay-Lo because there was another girl named Shannon in my class. And I just started going by Shay, and it just stuck. So anyways, learning from that, I wanted a name that people kind of were like, oh, interesting. I had so many different names, went back and forth. That took a huge chunk of time, just trying to find something that fit and felt right and wasn't taken. I had always traveled with this beige bag of mine, and it was one of my first bags. I loved it until it couldn't be used anymore. And then when I was looking up other ways of how to say beige, Béis came about. And then it had the accent. And I was like, oh, the accent kind of just reminded me of this airplane taking off. And I was like, Béis. And I'd ask people how they would pronounce it. And so many of my friends were saying it a million different ways. And I was like, that's funny because no, it's not very obvious how you pronounce it, especially with the accent. It makes people think. It just kind of tied back to, my auditioning days of getting that extra second in the room. It's something you'd remember. You'd be like, oh yeah, Béis with the accent, Béis. And I loved that. I love that there was almost a little bit of confusion in how to pronounce it because then you had people saying it a couple times over. So it was first getting the name. And then it was kind of thinking about the product. And I remember one of my first drawings was, I do a lot of hand drawings because I'm not technically savvy, as you saw from prior to this, setting all this up. I use pen and paper, and I still do that. And I would draw this bag because I would notice different things from my travels. I'd be like, okay, I love a big bag, but I need a separate compartment because I don't want my shoes touching my things. But then if you have a big bag, you lose things. And when I'm trying to get my keys to go inside my house, I need something to hold it, like a key leash. But then I don't want it to slide off my carry-on. So I need to have this trolley passer. I would just kind of be paying attention to what people were using in the airports, as I still do to this day. Like, I'm just staring at people from like waist down. It's a little weird sometimes, but I'm always just like, what are they using? What are they traveling? How big are their wheels? Like, I'm like always doing that. I always did do that. So I drew up this bag, and that became our weekender. And from that, it was sort of like coming out with the lineup of the product and what did we want to launch with, because that's how people kind of know you as. And I think we were very specific when it came to the launch strategy. I didn't want to launch with rollers. I didn't want to just be, that travel company, that luggage brand. No. I wanted to launch with our weekenders. I wanted to launch with, cosmetic bags and things that were more everyday. And that was a strategic sort of play, because I just wanted to be, something that was in touch with our consumer on a daily basis versus, when they would travel, which might be once or twice a year, and that's sort of our first product launch with that.
Yeah. So you documented a lot of this, which is quite fascinating. And, you went to China, you went to, you picked like a lot, like it wasn't just like, a lot of people, they want to create an e-commerce business and they go to Alibaba and then they find something and it's a white labeled product and then they just change it a little bit. You actually really kind of designed this product fit for purpose, which is a more expensive journey because you have to create a mold from scratch from a manufacturing standpoint. I'm curious, how many trips did you do to China, and how long did it take to get the sample? Like, how many samples did you have to go up and back on to go, yeah, that's the one? And how did you know when it was the one?
I went twice. And I think the sample process, even to this day, is something that takes a long time. It's like, it feels like forever. I say it feels like a year. My team's like, well, it's actually like 3 months before we get our first sample. And then, from like when you draw it up to when it can come and you're like happy with it, it's about 6 to 9. Like, we're designing right now for summer of 2025, right? Just to get perspective on the amount of lead time you need. But yeah, it was important for me to go and be able to see things and learn about it. I didn't go to design school. I never claimed to be a designer at that point. I was learning as I went. And I think that's the other huge, that's the other great thing that I had with starting Béis is I had such an incredible team. Although we started with just 5 people, I had such incredible people that had been doing this for so long. They brought their experience. I was learning from them as I went. And I think that's the other thing I always say to people is like, you don't necessarily always have to have this, long list of education all the time to go into something, like I am just somebody who learns better as they go. I was on a hit show and that was my first big thing, without as much acting experience as other people had on that show. Was it my best acting? Probably not. But you know what? I learned so much on that show and I just need to be thrown into the fire. That's the type of person I am. And so I think same thing with Béis. I wanted to go. I wanted to see how it was made. I wanted to see the factory. I wanted to see what other people were doing at the factory. Okay, you do these per people's suitcase. Let me break their suitcase down. Let me rip it apart. What wheels did they use? Why does it roll better with these ones? Like, why is this company more expensive? What's their material that they're using? This is my option of zippers. Like, it was a lot, it was mind-blowing. I'm like, oh, so you use different metal. Okay, if this zipper, you're using metal for this, you don't want to use it for... I had to learn about it because it wasn't just something that I was like, oh, have these designers mock something up and I sign off on it. No. Even to this day, I pick every single model for our photo shoots, even if it's e-com. Like, it's just how I've always wanted to be, especially with this, because I am so passionate about it. I want to be able to tell you why I did this zipper here and why it wasn't on the back part. Like, I have to be able to speak about it like that. And from, the very beginning, going and doing those trips myself was extremely important and understanding why we were doing things. But yes, it is a lot more expensive. Getting samples and going back and forth and having to wait, that's also expensive. But I know what the markups were, and I wanted to be able to create affordable luxury for people, because getting, a plane ticket, traveling, just even stepping out of your house for a coffee is now so expensive. I didn't want the bags and the things that you're using to put your possessions in to break the bank as well. Like, that's not fair. So I knew kind of, what I wanted to do in terms of price with that. And sometimes can get a little challenging, but it's been a great learning process from the beginning that I wanted to document to your point. I thought it was important and still do to bring people behind the scenes of this whole process.
Yeah, you said something really interesting. You saw a white space. How did you see it? Is it because you went so deep in the market or you went so deep on the customer?
Because I was a consumer myself. I still am a consumer. I was out looking to buy my own luggage. You know, the luggage I had been using on my trips and while I was on the show was like hand-me-downs from my parents. You know, I think that's like a lot of people. They're like, oh, you got an extra suitcase, let me take it. Mine were my parents, you know, and it didn't suit who I was. And I was like, oh, I'm traveling now. You know, I want to like purchase my own luggage. I want to purchase my own bags, my own travel gear. And when I was a consumer out in the world, I was looking. I had this option that was so expensive, that was more than my plane ticket, and also didn't meet the function that I needed. It didn't expand. It didn't have this, didn't have that. Or I went in this realm and I was like, okay, but if this breaks on me while I'm away, that's going to really suck. And then this one, it's fine with the function, but it's just so loud and I want something just black and chic or beige. I don't want it to be have so many prints and all of that. So I couldn't find anything that checked every box, you know? And I think that's really where it came from, is like, I'm also a consumer myself. I see what's out there. I see what isn't. And I saw a lot of what wasn't out there at that time.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like the best businesses and the best business ideas tend to come from your own problems, scratching your own itch. And if I think about Foundr and like how we, you know, started just as a magazine because I wanted to interview people that had really, that had done it, but hear their stories. And then that turned into an education platform. But we got the people that we interviewed to teach, and like, it's so different to modern day university, right? Like it's a modern day university, right? So I think that was an itch that I was looking to scratch because nothing out there existed, right? You could learn from people that have actually done it.
Exactly. And that's kind of how we still do it every single day. You know, it's like me and my team are also consumers. You know, we also see things that we need to make our, you know, day-to-day journeys a little bit easier. And that's always what I also wanted with Béis, was to be a solution-based company, you know, and then becoming a mom and traveling with kids, that was a whole other thing.
Solution-based company, what do you mean by that?
I mean, like, for example, creating, you know, the Weekender. I was drawing up a design that sort of met the needs that I couldn't find out there. You know, like I said, I wanted this large bag, but I didn't want to lose my keys. So by putting a little key leash in there, that fixed one of my issues of wanting a large bag, but not wanting to lose the smaller items in it. You know, I'd always had bags that I just plop on top of my carry-on. But then when I'm running in the airport and it's falling off because there's nothing to hold to it, that's where the trolley pass-through came. That also fixed a problem that I had, you know? And I think too, it's like, even with the smaller items that we have, our little side sling, you know, I wanted to have a little drink compartment so that I wouldn't be holding my drink or my water bottle and that, because doing things with 2 kids now, even if it's going to the grocery store, trying to get them in the car, it's like a lot. So now I just plop my water bottle in here and do that. So it's, you know, fixing the little problems that we may have, you know, when we're out in the world.
And talk to me about launch strategy. You said you were very strategic on the launch strategy, and I'd love to hear, you know, what was your MOQ, if you're happy to share, and like, you know, how fast did you sell out? Talk us through that. Take us back. What was it like?
So the ordering and that kind of stuff, I will never pretend like I know. I don't. I have an incredible team who are exceptional at what they do. They place the orders. They've done this for a lot long. I have no idea. I drew up the bags. I, you know, chose all the details on it. As far as the marketing of it and the Instagram, definitely hands-on with that, because that's, you know, where my experience comes from. And I think going back to wanting to launch with Weekenders, it was just, again, to be like, hey, we want to solidify our space in the market is not just being a travel brand. I don't want you to just have to come to us when you booked a plane ticket. I want you to come to us whenever you leave the home. If you're going for a walk, if you're going to the grocery store, you're dropping off your kid, you're going to the gym, I want to be able to provide the bags and the things that you need to put your belongings in when you leave the house. So whatever your journey is from A to B, that's where I want you to want to come to Béis. And so if we had launched with rollers, it would have just been that travel brand or just that, travel brand. And so I think that's what I mean by being strategic. It's like, okay, we launch with weekenders, we launch with makeup bags. I think too, when, COVID hit, that was 2 years into us launching. A lot of people were like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like, you guys have a suitcase. No, we're not just a suitcase company. And the actuality of it was because we had such a small team at that point, and still really do for the most part, we were able to kind of pivot quickly and quicker than other people. Okay, cool. We can't maybe launch with our rollers right now because a lot of people aren't traveling. So let's focus on the other categories that we have, like our hands-free bags. People are still going to the store. They're still going on hikes, a lot more hikes. They're doing smaller trips, road trips. And I think kind of moving the consumer over to our other categories that we had was crucial at that time. And I think that's the other thing, product diversity. We have 13 categories right now, from totes to backpacks to hands-free bags to kids to cosmetic bags. We don't just have to talk about one specific category like rollers. So that was really the saving grace during that time. And I think that's also something that, from having the small team and being so hands-on with our, community and that conversation with them, we really do get to hear what it is that they're looking for and what it is that they're needing.
You talk about your team. I'm really, really curious because someone like yourself, getting your team right is so critical, right? Like you're relying, like you said, you're relying on your team to lean on for some of the expertise. How do you identify people that you can trust, which is first and foremost the most important thing? How do you identify that? Because, in your situation, there's a lot of people telling you what you want to hear.
100%. I also would say that I'm like a big believer, and it could sound woo-woo, but like, I think everything happens for a reason. I think I also spend a lot of time, like, I don't just do one interview. I do 2 interviews with everybody that we bring on. And I feel like I have psychic ability. I don't know. No, I have really good intuition is what I'll say. And, at the end of the day, you'll never know for certain if somebody's going to be that right fit for the entire length of time that they choose to work with you. But you can get a good sense of somebody. I also think, seeing where they were beforehand and understanding why they made that move or what happened with their last job and what it is that they're looking to do. I think regardless of the position, I'm always curious as to what that person's like dream goal is. Like, where is it that they want to go? They may be starting off in this position, but like, if you could do anything, what is that? Because that's when you're going to get great work culture, is what I like to call it. When you have people excited and where they know that there is so much room to grow and you're not capping anybody's like, okay, this is what we need and this is the only position. No, you want to start designing, but you're starting off as an office assistant, go for it. I love that. Give me ideas. I'll take ideas from anybody. And I think especially in this time where there is so much competition, you can see what's doing well for somebody. There's a lot, you can poach this person from that. I'm always like, please try. If somebody, same thing in any of my relationships, if you're happier over there or working over there, go for it. I don't want to stunt your growth. I don't ever want you to not feel excited to come to work. But we have such a great team. And I think because everybody is genuinely excited, and when people are passionate about what they're doing, their output is so much more than you could ever even ask for. The ideas that I see on a daily basis from my social team to design to digital ads I spend, I'm like, you guys are just crushing it. But again, I think it's also because we all collectively are like loving what we're doing, and you can feel that. And we just got an office recently, I was mentioning earlier, after 5 years of being out there. We were designing the bags on my dining table in my house with like a kid screaming, a baby feeding, like them playing outside. We've never really had a proper office, and now we do. And it's even better because now the team can come there. You can work from home or you can come to the office, but it's just built such a good, place to be, and so many more ideas are able to happen when we're in this sort of bullpen of this office now. And I just love it. And I think the team loves it too. And again, it's just like, you need to create an environment for people where they want to be there and they also know that the sky isn't the limit.
Hey guys, I really hope you're feeling inspired from today's interview. The truth is, there's never been a better time to build an e-commerce business. And the best part is, you don't need to do it alone. That's where Foundr Plus comes in, which I'm really excited to share with you. If you are feeling stuck in your e-commerce business, lacking the confidence to really move forward, or you're worrying about making costly mistakes or how to drive your sales, Foundr Plus is here to support you. You get access to a customized learning pathway with proven frameworks from successful e-commerce founders for fast results, a supportive community. We have weekly live mentorship and workshops and exclusive savings on startup tools and 24/7 real human support. You can try Foundr Plus today for just $1 for 7 days so you can accelerate your business goals. Just visit foundr.com/start $trial or click the link in the description to claim your trial. All right, now let's jump back into the show. Yeah, look, there's definitely something very special. I know like a lot of companies are going remote first. Me personally, I love like the hybrid approach, and you know, we have office in Melbourne, and there's something so special like when everyone gets together, and it's just like, it's the conversations, the in-person conversations, or you're just talking about just brainstorming something and then it comes of it. Like, you don't get that when you're working remotely. Like, that creativity and that collaboration, it's just not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit it there. It's that combination of remote, but also having the office if you want to go there too.
I agree. So can you tell me about your LA pop-up luggage wash and the origin of that idea that you did recently?
Yes, our Béis wash. Oh, pop-ups are a really fun one for us because we are majority D2C. It's that time where we can get to meet our consumer in real life. And I think, you know, we don't have that commitment that we would necessarily have if we were in brick and mortar. And so when we have that pop-up, I mean, this one was super short. It was like 3 days, 2.5, which is crazy because I'm like, that was a lot of work for those 2 days. But it's fun because we get to like go crazy with our design and think about it. You know, our first pop-up was at the Grove, and that was about a month. And it was our Béis motel. And I wanted to start with motel because I knew that eventually we'd go into a hotel. And it was a small little pop-up there. And I wanted to be able to create this sort of experience for our consumers who had never seen us in real life to be able to come into this curated experience and like get to see the product in a normal setting, like this motel setting. We had a little check-in desk, you know, we had a little, like, at that point it wasn't our hotel yet, so we just had a little waiting area and like a couple shelves, but they could see the product in like a space like that. And that was really fun. And then we moved into the Béis hotel, and there we took it another step further. We had a check-in counter, we even had an elevator, and then you went into the room and we had a bed on the side of the wall so you could see like where your product would look in a room. If you were traveling, we had, you know, the little cosmetic case in a bathroom that we had. We even had a patio space. Like, it was really cool because people hadn't seen anything like that. And I didn't want to just create a store atmosphere. I wanted to create an experience, again, because being so heavy on D2C, we never get that opportunity to see people in real life and to bring an experience. And then with the Béis wash, that was an idea that came because we were launching this new color, our Clean Slate collection. Clean Slate, top of the year, fresh start. Our campaign that we had actually shot in November for it was like this car wash, you know, cleaning the luggage. It was this like cool icy blue color, and the whole thing was just like fresh, bubbles, all of that. And then I had kind of seen some TikToks on social, people being like, I got this color and it got dirty, you know, and my suitcase has, you know, a couple stains on it. And I'm like, okay, you know, on one hand, I'm like, oh man, does Nike feel this way when people like get their Air Force Ones dirty? You know, do people get like mad at Nike? I don't know. when you got the bag, it was brand new, it was clean. I can't control what happens to it when people are hucking it down the thing into the airplane, but they still come for me. And at one point I'm like, okay, let's just hone it in. I get really sensitive about it because Béis is truly like my first child. It's my company. I put everything into it. So of course I feel it more. I don't care when people speak about me, but when you speak about the brand and my baby, I'm like, ah. So anyways, bringing it back, I was like, okay, people are saying that this and the lighter color luggage obviously are getting dirtier. Let's create this experience where we can do like a service for them and we can clean up their bags. And this is all about fresh bag, fresh new year, clean slate, you know, let's have this sort of Béis wash, car wash vibe. And from there, it was just like, boom. I visited so many car washes. I pulled so many revs. I knew that I wanted an old coffee machine in there. I wanted a water station. I wanted buckets everywhere. I wanted sponges. You know, we partnered with Scrub Daddy and they came out with like our own little suitcase scrubbers, you know, and then this wall, I wanted to use their material to create our Béis logo that then had like drying sort of fans, you know, like when you're going through that car wash and it fans off your car. I wanted that for the little photo op, and I want bubbles and all of this stuff. And it's just such a fun way to play for us because I'm like, ooh, we get to have them come into our experience and create this whole vibe for our consumers. And the cleaning of their bags, you know, was just sort of like our give back to them for just being awesome. Whether you bought something or not, if you had a Béis bag, we would clean it for you. And yeah, I wanted to do that. I also, though, am the complete opposite. I love when my bags are all batted up, and I love stickers that are like taken off of them. I want it to look traveled, just like I want my passport to be like full of stamps. I feel that way about my suitcase, but not everybody does. So for those people who don't, we cleaned it up for them.
Yeah, that's really clever, and I'm sure it was a huge success. Before we move to Onda, because I want to talk about Onda as well, we're on limited time. There's one last thing I wanted to ask you about with Béis. I was just thinking, like, it is a great name. It is a really great name, and there's something special about that name, and also special about one word. And I remember speaking to a mentor once, because I actually got sued for trademark infringement. The company never used to be called Foundr. It was actually called Key to Success originally. And I got sued by one of the biggest business magazines in the States, and I had to change it. And I remember going to him saying, well, what do I call it? And he said to me, well, a name is really what you make of it, right? Like, what the hell does Google mean? What the hell does Facebook mean, or Airbnb? Mm-hmm. Like, it's what you make of it. And I would just, anyone listening or watching this, what advice would you give to people on settling with a name? Like, you had your own personal story, but like, what advice would you give to people to come up with a name to choose? You can use AI now, you can use all sorts of different things that can help you, but like, what would your advice be just on that one? Because sometimes people do get stuck.
Yeah, I would say go with your gut, period. It's the same thing when I was coming up to name my daughters, you know. I think I didn't ask a lot of people what they thought. Because if you do that, then you're going to be going back and forth. You're never going to have a name that everybody loves. You're just not. Whether it's the name for your child or your company, you know, people are always going to have their own take, their own idea, but you're the one that has to live with it. You're the one that has to see it. You have to see it on every document, everything, everywhere. You have to feel like it feels right in your gut. And I know that's maybe not the correct thing, but like it was for me. I said it, I heard it, I saw it, I wrote it down. I worked with how I wanted the logo to be. I tried a million different fonts. I asked maybe 2 people. It was me and my partner that came up with it. And that's really it. I didn't take it wide to ask my entire friend group what they thought. I truthfully, on one hand, didn't really care. I knew that it felt right. And that's the same thing with, you know, other things that I'm working on. And I remember I just listened to the podcast with the woman from Drunk Elephant. You know, she was like, everybody thought I was crazy at the beginning, but it felt right. Yeah, if you had asked me, I would have thought, okay, Drunk Elephant. I mean, it gets you thinking, you know, and I think you have to feel like it fits you and it's right. And you have that moment. And it's the same thing with when I came with the girls' names for my girls. It was just like, I heard it. I was like, boom, don't care what anybody else thinks. You just have to feel like it's right and go with it. You like it for a reason. There's other people that are going to like it too. And if they don't like it, well, might still be catchy enough that they still think about it, or they don't like it enough that they remember it because of that.
Yeah, I love that you're just sharing your own experiences, because come to think of it, I'm the exact same. I remember like I was talking to my friend on Facebook Messenger and I said, there's these options. And he's just like, oh, wow, what if we took like Foundr without the E? That would be super cool. And I'm like, yep, that's the one. Bang. And then that was it.
Which it is really great. So everything happens for a reason, because this is an even better name.
Yeah,
so
110%. It was a blessing in disguise.
Exactly.
All right. So let's switch gears and talk about Onda. What made you want to just go into a completely different industry, super competitive, the beverage space? Talk us through that, how that came about. Why not just stick with one business?
Because why not? And that's always my thing to anybody. Like, why the fuck not? Why not? If so-and-so can do it and so-and-so can do this, why can't I? I have one life that I know of right now. And when I look back, like I said, I want to know that I did everything that I wanted to do. As long as there is true passion behind it and genuine interest and curiosity, I'm going to go for it. I could have 5 businesses, and if I want to start a 6th one and there's genuinely that same amount of enthusiasm and curiosity as I had with Béis, I'm going to do it. I never will pay attention to that. You have to go with your heart. And now listen, if you're doing things for monetary reasons or other things, I don't know. I can't speak on that. I genuinely could talk to you for unlimited amount of time about Béis, about Onda, about my kid. Like I love it. I am so passionate about them. So when Onda came about, it was very similar to how Béis was for me. It was, a year before COVID, I want to say. And I was noticing that people were drinking these ready to drinks, RTDs. And I was like, oh, that's kind of great. You're not having to like bring a bottle of this, bring a mixer, do all this. I love convenience. I'm like, great. You can just bring that over. I was trying them. I was trying a bunch. There was a couple on the market. I was like, it's just not hitting. This is feeling a little artificial. Like, what's even in this? And I'd ask my friends who were like providing that. I was like, what? So is this vodka? Is this thing? They're like, wow. I'm like, cool. Okay. And no one really knew what they were drinking. And I was like, I'm a tequila girl. I mean, I love alcohol, but I love tequila. And there wasn't a ready to drink that was tequila based. A lot of it was malt. A lot of it was vodka, nothing in tequila. And I remember seeing this tequila coming, this deck, and there was a few people that were on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this idea. These other people are obviously thinking the same way. It was tequila. It was this name called Onda, and they had the name, and that was it. And I was like, Society. They had this sort of deck of Onda and this seltzer, and I was like, boom, I love this. Early stages, they haven't sampled it. There's no formula yet. They have the name. I love the name. This logo looks awesome. Let's play around with it a little bit. And we just jived. It was me and 3 other people. And I was like, oh, this just feels right. I was just thinking this, And so when we connected and we went down to Jalisco and tequila, we were sampling, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. This is a new space. This is very different from Béis. It's a completely new category. It is also very male dominated. And Kelly and I, who are the 2 founders in it, I was like, this is incredible. We're getting to really like start this from zero. I'm like, what are the things that are important to us? Having not just like this very artificial flavor. I wanted real fruit in it. I wanted it to be low in sugar. I wanted it to be low in calories. But I also wanted it to taste good. But I didn't want it to be too sweet because I wanted it to be sessionable. I wanted to be able to sip poolside or be able to drink and not be like, oh, I can only have one of those. It's, there are those cocktails and those drinks that you love, but they're too sweet. You can only have one of them. I wanted this to be like a sessionable drink I could kind of have throughout the day. Anywho, when we were coming out with the formula of it, it was just such a fun process. And it was similar to Béis, but completely different. And again, I think that's what really leads me into different things, is just my curiosity for it. I have 1,000,001 questions. I'm learning as I go. I don't know. I didn't make drinks before. I was a bottle service girl, but that was about the extent of it. So just getting to learn about this process was really exciting to me.
Yeah. And then I'm curious, so did you know these, the people that were pitching you beforehand?
No, I didn't.
How did they come to you? Like how did that come about? Tell me the story.
So at my agency, they have, a whole department where you can invest in different companies, and companies come up and they're looking for people who are like-minded and they're interested. And I just saw this, I think it was maybe 2 pages, not even a full deck, of just Onda, tequila seltzer, wanting, if there was any interest in that. And when I told you, I saw the logo for it, I heard the name, I loved it. I was like, that's so lucky. They have this name already. There's no tequila for me to sample. This would be like me starting with them from scratch. This is perfect. I'm also a big manifester. So I feel like I had said it so many times when I was out with my friends drinking these other drinks, being like, oh, I wish it was tequila based. I wish there was less sugar in it. This is too sweet. If I had one, it'd be less sweet. And it just happened. This deck kind of came across my table and I was like, oh, wow, I love this. Let's meet, see if we jive. Let's create this drink together. And that's kind of how it happened. And I think also I'm really lucky with that, because had it already been made and I didn't like it, I don't know if I would have gone down that path. But because they were at, like I said, ground zero and just had the name, I was on board.
So what happened next?
What happened next? We launched it, and then again, COVID. And people weren't really having those parties and get-togethers and all of that. It's funny because with Onda, one of our first consumers was Drake, and my boyfriend is on his management team. And we had casually sent it out to friends and family when we had first started it. And so we had just put it out. I didn't sign anything. I didn't say it was mine, nothing. Got it sent to his house, sitting on his kitchen, whatever. And he had tried it and he really liked it. And he was our number 1 customer, probably still might be. But I mean, that was incredible for us because I'm like, this guy could drink anything. He has access to every single drink there is, alcohol, you name it, whatever. And he is truly choosing to drink this over all of that, and not because of any association to me or my boyfriend, but just because he loves it, and he was even concocting his own drinks with it, and even recently when he put out his Ondalini, I had nothing to do with that. That was him, and he's created this drink that even I love now from it, mixing real passion fruit with it in a spritzer glass. And I was like, thank you for making me my new favorite drink as well. So, having that and just people genuinely loving it. And I think because you can mix it with other things, it just was the perfect time for us to also launch a Blanco, which we just launched. And that was really exciting because I was like, cool, a lot of people are adding, myself included, tequila to the seltzer because it is super low in alcohol if you just have the can. So we kind of had that option for people that didn't want too much alcohol in it. They could drink a couple of these, 3, whatever. And now you can add in our own tequila into it, which I also think is one of the best, unbiased.
And I see you talked about Béis and how you came up with it, and now Onda and how you're behind that as well. And there's kind of these similarities between your life and what you're passionate about, or your career, and I don't know whether it, like you said, it's intuition, but it ties really well to your brand and your story, and I think it's very, very clever. I'm curious, just before we wrap, we've got to work towards wrapping up, a couple more questions, but when it comes to, I guess, people starting a brand and they want to work with talent like yourself, or like you talked about the Drake story, what advice would you give to people? Because you would have products sent to you all the time. Like, is there anything that people should know to get in front of talent?
I mean, I would say, I think you could send to agencies. If you have a deck, send to agencies. Onda was a different situation because, like I said, I did start with them from the very beginning. So if you are a little bit further along in your steps and wanting somebody, you have to decide what it is. Do you want somebody to just be the face? Are you wanting talent because you think that they have expertise in this, or they're genuinely interested? Like, what is it that you're wanting? Because there's a multitude of different things you could have in wanting somebody to be your partner. For me personally, I like being involved from the very, very beginning because I want to be very hands-on. I can't just be a face of something. I need to have input. I need to be able to bring my opinions and my ideas and feel like they are welcomed with whatever it is that I'm working with, you know? And I think that's really the first thing is like, do you want somebody to kind of just be there for the face, like I said, or are you wanting this person to help you with the ideas that you have and this product specifically because they're known for that? Like, what is it? And once you decide that, then I mean, yeah, of course, if you want that partner, then that's great. Some people don't want celebrities or talents involved. They think it, you know, dilutes the brand or the product. It all depends. I can only speak for myself, and I feel like I still would be interested in partnering or at least in even investing in companies that I have a genuine interest in. I have to be able to feel passionate about something. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much the check is. To be able to speak on it, and I think people now know me for being really honest about what it is I'm speaking about, which is why even with Béis, I mean, I have to do those walkthroughs first because I want people to be able to see exactly why I put this pocket here, why I use it for this, why, you know, you can use it on your trip, and how I pack things is just that passion that I have for both of them is sometimes hard to find if you're bringing somebody on later on in the game, again, just to be a face, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I think, you know, we just interviewed recently one of the founders of Hexclad, and they partnered with Gordon Ramsay, right? And he's basically the ambassador for Hexclad. They have incredible cookware. I'm just about to buy some. Like after doing that interview, and my partner was just like, oh, I want some. Like, this looks amazing. I'm about to get some. And the story around how they started working with him was crazy. It was, they launched and then they saw that he actually followed the brand on Instagram. And then they just DM'd. He didn't say nothing. Gordon didn't reach out. They just DM'd him. And then somehow a conversation started, and now he's a partner in the company, and he's not just the face, he's quite involved. And I think you'll find that the talent that when you partner with talent or a celebrity that is super involved, that comes out, right? It comes out, and you can see it through the product, you can see it through the marketing, you can see it everywhere. And I think that's the most important thing, right?
Absolutely. And you know, with Béis too, I think it was very thought out. I never wanted it to be Béis by Shay Mitchell because, to your point, when I hear people say that they saw Béis and then they found out that I was behind, that's like, I love that. I love when I walk up to somebody at the airport and I'm like, oh, I love your bag. And they're like, thanks. Yeah, it's this company called Béis. And I'm like, yes. I mean, to say that we did the amount of sales we did based on my name would be insane. I'm very happy that it has superseded me. I always want that to be the case. I want people to genuinely love the product, not because of me or anything to do with it. But I also think at this point now, you know, people that have kind of seen my growth from the show to this have always felt like there is authenticity behind it and behind anything I do. You know, it was Shaycation at first, then it was Béis. I also love drinking. Then it was Onda. And then combining both of those things with producing, that's when my show Thirst comes out. And that's the combination of traveling and drinking. And pitching that, I was like, I don't know if there's anybody else that could host this show because you, at this point, genuinely know I have love for both.
Yeah, tell me about Thirst, because I know you've got a production company too, and you've got a lot. So you got a lot going on. I want to talk about that briefly, but tell me about Thirst.
Thirst was a show that came. Everything is like during COVID, 2018, 2020. But it was. I was missing traveling so much, and I remember seeing Zac Efron's show come out, Down to Earth, on Netflix, and I, devoured it. I loved it because I was yearning to travel so much, and we couldn't obviously at that point. And so for me, I was just thinking, and one of my team members was like, hey, what about like this traveling drinking show? We always talk about food. There's 1,000,001 food shows, but there's none about beverages. You have a beverage every time you sit down to eat. Kind of goes hand in hand. There's not as many shows on that. And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, I could travel and drink and learn, not just drink. They're not all alcohol beverages, let me just add. But learn about different cultures and what they consume, what they drink when they're sitting at a table. And I loved that. And so, we went to 4 different countries, and I shot 4 episodes of this show that I'm very excited for people to see. So it's coming out tail end of May, and I'm really excited about it. So it's called Thirst, and hopefully we get to do a lot more of them.
Exciting. So we have to work towards wrapping up. I want to talk about really your multi-hyphenate life. You do acting, writing, producing, entrepreneurship, building businesses, content. I know you haven't posted on YouTube in a while, but content, you're a content creator as well. How do your passions and skills really complement each other from your perspective?
I think because it's just very organic. Nothing feels forced with it. It's just, like I said, it went from one thing to leading into the next, and it all just fits and feels right. And I think that's kind of been the trajectory of this, growth from not having Béis or Onda or any of that, and just my genuine love of travel and curiosity. And I think I'm able to manage them all because in one way or another, I've learned so much from Béis that I got to bring that into Onda, and I've learned so much from Onda, I get to bring it into the next thing. And like I said, that all came about from me learning how to manage my time from even my bottle service days, and picking a job that I could do at night so I could have acting classes during the day, and just managing time with that. And I think, doing more things, you have to get even better at kind of prioritizing time and managing that. And of course, I have an incredible team at home. I'm fortunate to have at work, at the different companies. I'm very, very fortunate to have this incredible team first and foremost. But I just think they all kind of feel right, and they fit in this ethos of what my brand, even though I don't love that, is. I love to travel. I love to eat and drink. I love, all these things, and it fits very nicely in that. So it's just a part of my life.
And you have a lot going on. Talk to me around how you make decisions across all these different ventures and your career and home life. Like, what's your process for making decisions when people need a lot from you?
You just got to make it happen. You really do. And I think, like I said, I'm very fortunate to have incredible teams in my home life, my work life, personal life, all of it. I couldn't do this by myself, of course. But I think it really is prioritizing what is needing the most attention. Sometimes it's Béis, sometimes it's Onda, sometimes I'm away for 5 weeks shooting this show. Sometimes I'm over here because the show I'm producing is shooting in tech. Like, it just depends. For the most part, not everybody is needing the same amount of attention at the same time, which is great. So I think if you can kind of, situate it where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be heavy focused on Béis because we have these 2 launches, but then I'm going to be in tequila, Mexico, because I'm working on this new formulation for Onda, but then I'm here and I can focus on, the shows that are going into the next season. I think it's just kind of balancing all of it. I mean, I wish there was a perfect answer for that, but at the end of the day, it's prioritizing my time. I'm very scheduled with that. And like I said, it's just giving this amount of time to this. They're not all needing it at the same amount. So when you do have a little bit more downtime in one, focus on the other company or whatever else it is project you have going on.
You actually have downtime?
Yes, I definitely do. I catch up with my reality shows. I think it's just as important. As much as I could say I'm go, 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 I am also the biggest proponent of doing absolutely nothing and binge watching 6 seasons for one whole day. I have no shame, and I will stay home if, my kids are with my grandparents or wherever. Then I'm like, okay, if they're home, then no, there isn't a lot of downtime. But if I am by myself, I for sure can just crush, seasons of a show and not feel guilty about it, because I think that's equally as important as, the other things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Look, I agree. There's something very special of just turning off your brain. Here in Australia, we've got Married at First Sight.
Yes, we do have that. Married at First Sight. Yes. Love is Blind and all those ones. Yeah. So yeah, I've been binge watching Married at First Sight every night. Right. You guys gave us, was it Love Island or maybe that was UK? I don't know, but you have your own version of that. And yeah, those shows are always fun too, because occasionally if they ever get like kicked off the island or you see them packing up, it's a Béis luggage. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's
There you
awesome.
go.
So it's like extra exciting. But yeah, that's very important. Reality TV.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we're going to move to the hot seat round. Rapid fire questions and answers, then we'll wrap.
Okay. All right.
Ready?
Yeah, I think so.
What have you learned about yourself through being a founder?
Patience.
What daily habit makes you a better founder?
I would say alone time. I think that's extremely important. I'm around so many people every day, or I'm talking to so many people every day. I think having that time where I can just like sit with myself in silence is extremely important. That can happen in a bath, that can happen sitting on my bed or working out, but it's just, or even driving. That one-on-one time with yourself to just kind of hear silence is extremely important for me.
Are you ever going back to YouTube?
Yes, I would say never say no. There's some content that I would put up there to be as focused on it as I was in the past. Who knows? If I had a little bit more help with that specifically, I probably would. Watch me just get a little Osmo or something and start doing it myself. I just can't edit. If I could just hand the footage over, you know what? Never say no. And you maybe just challenge me. I am going to put something up on YouTube soon.
There you go. If you could have dinner with any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
You really did just tell me, because of course I have this list, but now I'm just like,
J-Lo?
yes, of course. She's definitely crushed it. I would also say, I'm forgetting her name, who started Spanx.
Oh, Sarah Blakely.
They're obsessed. Yes, of course. I think what she has done, and also what I've heard about, you know, her work culture and what she's done as a give back to her team is exceptional. I don't know her personally, but from what I've heard, I'm a huge fan of that. She would be one of them for sure. Absolutely.
What's your go-to pizza order?
Oh my God. People are going to come for me. I like everything on it and pineapple. I have to have pineapple and ranch. I'm sorry, all my Italian friends hate me for this, but I need pineapple and I need ranch and chili flakes galore.
Okay. Last question. What are you excited for next?
2 other projects I have coming out. 2 other things. Really excited. And when they come out, it's just an obvious. And everybody who knows me is like, well, duh, we were waiting for this. So I can't speak about them yet, but I just got the name for this one. Speaking of names, and I would love to reconnect with you on this in the future, but this is my next baby I'm giving birth to, and it's just feels very right. It is right. It's me. It's me. It's me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we will wrap there. Thank you so much, Shay.
Thank you. This was very fun. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. You killed it. Well done. So thank you so much for giving back to our community. It's going to help a lot of people. And yeah, thank you again. It was great to connect. And if you ever find yourself in Melbourne, Australia, please do be sure to reach out.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll just do a YouTube shaycation out there.
Oh, you want to come do the tour of the Foundr office?
Yes, absolutely. I'll film it. I'll film that for YouTube. We finished right on time. I'm not competitive or anything, but they literally just hit the 60-minute mark. So high five to us for getting all that in there in 60 minutes. Awesome.
If you love this episode, make sure to check out my interview with Emma Greed on how solving a problem she was so passionate about led to the creation of Skims and Good American.
And so I do think it's so much of it starts with like addressing things that bother you, that you find, you know, you've got to create a solution for, because, you know, at the end of the day, you've got to be passionate enough and sometimes crazy enough to go round and round and round to actually solve a problem.